Kyle here from allmediareviews.blogspot.com, here to do the King's X ranking video. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. If you have subscribed, thank you very much. I just wanted to mention that. I need to continue to mention that just because, obviously, it's not that much to subscribe. Really appreciate it. People that will subscribe, find this channel. Do a lot of the prog stuff, of course, a lot of the indie stuff, a lot of metal stuff, a lot of movies, television, what I can do. So here's the countdown. I'm not going to go through too many details, but so number 14, I have like insert an image here. I'm not sure I'll do that, but if not, the 1983/84 lone album from when they were known as when King's X was known as Sneak Preview. I put that as that's the top 14. This is 14 albums. That's number 14. So going through the list. No, we don't want you ruining Mama's box here. Going through the list, I got Kitty Cat, of course, who's trying to be a Tarzan cat, climbing like the cats like to do. Number 13, 2003's Black Like Sunday, an album I'm glad I revisited, but it's still kind of spotty. But the best couple tracks on it I really enjoy, and it's actually obviously related to Sneak Preview because like two of the songs were like rearranged. It was old songs, but especially the title track in Working Man, number 14. Number 13, rather. Number 12, the new album that just came out a couple months ago, Three Sides of One. I like it, but I don't like it as much as some of the others. It's kind of, I don't know. It's still a new album partly, but it's also just the other albums are so good that it kind of falls here because of that reason. But I still like it. It's got a lot of decent songs on it. Not as many go-tos, but I don't know if I'm getting something real quickly. Just need to fix this. Let's see here. I'm trying to film on my computer, so it's part of the experiment here. So number 11, 2005's Ogre Tones, an album I'm glad I revisited recently. It's kind of spotty, but I guess its best songs are really good, but the songs that aren't as good I'm not as crazy about, but I do like a lot of the songs on it. I think I was wrong when I did the review. Fly is a song that's the B-side off of Box, not Freedom, but I just wanted to correct that. What are you doing, kitty? You want to say hello to the camera? I'm trying to tell people about King's X. One of the last King's X videos. I'm going to do something else. I'll do a kitty video. Alright, so where was I? Number 10, 1998's Tapehead, the first album on Metal Blade, first proper album. An album that I really like. I'm glad I revisited. I remember liking it back in the day when it was released. The first half especially. I think the second half is a little uneven, but the first half is really good. So that's number 10. Number 9, 2008's XV, an album that I might have put higher even when it first came out because I really love this album. I still really do. But it's kind of revisiting some. I don't have as much nostalgia for it, I guess. Maybe that's part of it. Over time, maybe I'll feel like it. I don't know. I mean, it's not just the song, as I mentioned yesterday in the review, Go Tell Somebody. That is my favorite song on it. But these other, like, energetic tracks, these like Pray and, what is it? It is listed as free. That's weird. It got renamed as Broke. Move, Julie, All Right, Rocket Ship, and of course the bonus track, Love and Rockets, which I guess that was a song way back from like the self-titled. Anyway, I was reading the book about that. So, but that's number 9, the XV from 2008. Number 8, year 2000s, Please Come Home, Mr. Bulbous, which I don't know. I mean, I kind of those two albums I've always sort of struggle with which one I like more, but this album I guess has moved me. Which listening to that, that was the day that Leslie Jordan passed away, and I was just in tears when I heard that, and with knowing that he was gone. Smudge, there's a lot of good songs on this. In fact, my Charlie Sheen, of course, just as a music, just the music on it. It's not about Charlie Sheen really, but Julia, Fishbowl Man. I mean, this album I didn't do a very long review, and I kind of wish I'd talk more in detail about it, but I've always liked this album. Always thought that the experiments work for the most part, and somewhat less is more. But Please Come Home, Mr. Bulbous, number 8. Number 7, 1996's Ear Candy, an album, the first new album from one of the band. Maybe they're poppiest or power popish, and in some ways one of their most addictive albums. It's got a lot. It's got a variety. It's very upbeat, very kind of at times at least. The energy, it's got the mix of Ty and Jerry with Doug. I've always really enjoyed this. I'm sort of a soft spot for it. So number 7, another really great record, Ear Candy from 1996. Number 6, largely for nostalgia. Otherwise, I might not have put it as high because I always felt like more people liked this album more than me. Dog Man from 1994. The album that was sort of in vogue when I first got into them, even though Ear Candy was the new album, people still were reeling off of Dog Man. The first album without Sam Taylor. I have a lot of nostalgia for this album. That's probably the biggest reason why it's higher than some of these albums on this list. But yeah, number 6, Dog Man from 1994. Number 5, 2001's Manic Moonlight, an album I probably will always go to bat for. I love the flow of this record. Vegetable is a staple. It's one of their best songs. They tend to put out like one. See, a lot of these King's X albums have like a lot of great songs and then one just in your face, punchy, just banger track. And the rest of this album, I just love though the atmosphere, the experiments, even the looping percussion, the loops, the drum loops and stuff like that. I don't know what it is. I know that it's not a loved album, but for whatever reason, it just clicked with me, and I love it when that happens, when an album just kind of hits me over the head like a ton of bricks. So, number 5, Manic Moonlight from 2001. Number 4, now you just do the math, you figure out what exactly is Out of the Silent Planet, their debut album, which has a lot of bangers, some of their best songs. Of course, Goldilocks was like the first song I loved from King's X. It's got, Shot of Love, King, and What Is This? Those are the other kind of songs I first and foremost think of this album for, but of course it's a reference to C.S. Lewis, I believe. A book of his, I think, a novel of his. But Power Love, In the New Age, Sometimes, What Is This? Far, Far Away, and Visions. It's Wonder. This album is just filled with great tracks. It's not quite as long as some of the others, and I think they kind of topped it after this. But some people think this is their best record, so their debut album from 1988. So, number 4, Out of the Silent Planet from King's X, on my rankings list. Number 3, the self-titled album from 1992. I think this album and the one that came before it, Faith of Love, sound a lot alike. And there's a quote even in the book from Greg Prato, from one of the quotes from Ty, saying, I think we made the same album twice. But I think in some ways this album is a little bit less is more, for a similar idea with the detuned guitars and a lot of the sort of layered harmonies, and I think they perfected it in some ways. It's not as long of an album as Faith, Hope, Love, but from Lost in Germany is a banger. I love that song to death. I should put that on the epic songs under 5 minutes, actually. World Around Me, Prisoner, Not Just for the Dead, Song, Black Flag, Dreaming My Life. It's one of those records where you just like, there's not a song I want to skip. When I listen to it, I'd almost rather just listen to the whole thing. So, number 3, 1992's self-titled album from King's X. Number 2, Faith, Hope, Love. Everything in the Kitchen Sink. Their third album from 1990. A lot of experiments, a lot of stuff. This is highly replayable in that you hear things you don't remember hearing before. My go-tos there's a lot of songs on here are go-tos, but Fine Art of Friendship I think is highly underrated. We Were Born to Love, Everywhere I Go. Faith, Hope, Love, the title track, which is epic. It's very mesmerizing and meditative in some ways. Moan Jam is 6 minutes. I could listen to that for another 6 minutes after listening to it, and they play it live for I think longer than that. We Are Finding Who We Are. It's Love, their most well-known song. Mr. Wilson, Six Broken Soldiers, one of Jerry, I think the first Jerry song, which I like. It's always been kind of an isolated track on here. I always think of Lenny Kravitz in that video. I Can't Help It and Talk to You. Those songs have just layer upon layer, and they're kind of blurred sometimes, but they're like blurring in a good way, because I want to distinguish. It's like, oh, this is the song where they're talking about the voice machine, or the answer machine, and Anyway, that's from 1990, Faith, Hope, Love, number 2. And number 1, no surprise, Gretchen Goes to Nebraska from 1989, their concept album, the sci-fi. Call it the album cheesy. It has the story, and I never found it cheesy. I'm a fan of concept albums when they work and they don't become melodramatic, but the music kind of tells the story as opposed to it being literal, like scripts and stuff like that, scripted words. And I think it pulled off. Over My Head is, their most well-known song, probably, even though they don't play it live anymore because Doug can't really do the wailing like he used to do. But the title track, Out of the Silent Planet, the song from the last album, C.S. Lewis again, that maybe was the song that hooked me into King's X the most. The vocal harmonies are just so good on that. I think they ever did another song with vocal harmonies that well, actually. That's them. That's the most prog. In some ways, it's like them doing prog, like not a Rush thing, like a Yes thing, I guess you could say. The rest of it, I mean, Pleiades was one of the other earmarked tracks, but I think the whole concept, it's easier said than done. I don't believe it. Mission, I'll Never Be the Same. The concept of it kind of pulls me in. Summerland's another favorite, of course. It's kind of slow, like doom metal. Early, I don't even call it doom metal, but I'll Never Be the Same. Fall on Me. It's like, I mean, when I first got into this album, I first got into the band, I didn't latch on to as many of those songs, but I just felt like the concept was interesting enough. It was worth listening to. And so while they have the standout tracks on here that were played individually, I think the album as a whole is even more rewarding, like a lot of concept albums, when a concept album is done well. And I know the Gretchen Goes to Nebraska is a weird name. I just wanted to ask, ask Josh Rouse. Josh Rouse, who's from Nebraska. I know he lives in Nashville, but he has Dressed Up Like Nebraska, I think his debut album. If he knows about this album, he might. And they're not from Nebraska. They're from Missouri. Well, Doug's from Chicago, Ty's from Mississippi, and Jerry's from New Jersey, I believe. But it's weird how they use Nebraska. And there's a Wizard of Oz element, and like a Wizard of Oz and Alice in Wonderland, and the artwork and the story. And I love Wizard of Oz. It was my favorite story growing up. It still kind of is, between that and Ghost World, talking about movies. But anyway, Gretchen Goes to Nebraska, the number one for me among the King's X catalog. So where do you rank the King's X catalog, King's X fans? Post in the comments, your top 14, top 10, top 5, whatever it is. Is it just the Sam Taylor stuff, the first 4 albums? A lot of people, it's kind of boring that I place the top 4 albums being all the Sam Taylor albums, which it's hard just not to, because I got into them, and that's the most, for lack of a better way to put it, I think they were the most prog rock when they were working with Sam Taylor, and they were in some ways their most creative. They've done a lot of music since then that's very creative, but I found, and even the band themselves in some ways, I think they wouldn't deny that they were earlier in their career. They were at their creative peak in some ways. It is interesting, though. They didn't discover the detuned guitars until later. If they had done that earlier, I wonder if they had worked with Sam Taylor like in the early 80s when they were Sneak Preview. I wonder what that kind of music would have ended up like. Because they were like Cheap Trick back when they were doing Sneak Preview stuff and The Edge. But so, yeah, I have a couple more King's X videos to do. I want to do a video reviewing the book once I finish the book, or an oral history. And I also want to make a video, or I may actually include this with that video, on the side projects that I have. I don't have an extensive collection with them, but I have some of them. I'm looking for them. I still haven't found them all. But there's a few of them that I particularly enjoy, and I have their CDs. I'll maybe include that either in this video. And then I want to do maybe a top... If I can do these top 50 songs, I'll try to. I might... I'm not sure I'm going to post a thing visually or post a number if I can. The editing will take too long, but I might just post it in the comments, and then what I'll end up doing is just using these as props. Kind of lame, I know, but time is at a shortage, and I just the stuff takes time, and I have other responsibilities, unfortunately, besides YouTube. So, but thank you for watching. Like I said, give me your top albums. I'd love to find out where you rank the King's X catalog, but on to some other stuff. I don't know what band I'm going to be ranking a series of videos next like this. Like I said, my plans are to do, after some of these extra videos, albums of the year, 2023 albums, but then progressive art rock, concert staples, like bands I've seen like King's X. I think I kind of did that. I want to maybe do like specific videos on one band and the history I had with them, maybe I'm not sure. But I mean, Fates Warning, King's X, Fates Warning, The Deer Hunter, Kevin Gilbert, and Marillion. Those are like the cream of the crop of my favorites. But you know, people want to love to see lists and stuff like that. You know, Rush, Dream Theater. I could easily do. You know, you name your prog artists. I might. I don't know. It's just a matter of priorities and stuff like that. But again, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.